What's going on, everybody? And welcome back to the Shred Academy. Today, we're going to talk about the number one mistake people make when trying to execute drops. And I'm not talking about just big drops like this. You should already know what you're doing and your form should be pretty spot on. So first, we're going to describe what a drop is, what the goal of a drop is. Then I'm going to tell you what the number one mistake is and the three main problems it causes. Then I'm going to show you the right form. Then we're going to come out to several drops, small and big, and show you why this number one mistake could be costly and is definitely hindering your progression. Before we get to the number one problem with drops, let's simply define what a drop is. A drop is going to be basically a flat takeoff surface. It can be slightly downsloped or slightly upsloped, but once it gets an angle, we're a jump. The goal of a drop is literally to be able to ride off the drop, not have your front wheel fall, create that downward arc so that your tires can land either front tire first, setting the rear tire down after, or both tires at the same time, and you're landing inside the cockpit. Just like in jumps, there is a formula to success off of all drops of all kinds, and that's going to be form plus speed. And just like with jumps, there are perfect speeds to every drop. That sweet spot where it feels like it's effortless. Now again, just like with jumps, you don't want to be relying on the speed. Speed is just that additive that you add to your form to make it effortless. You're still gonna have to go through these certain steps, but with added speed is gonna come less effort. But again, the movements are going to still be there, just not as prominent. Okay, Dusty, so what's the number one mistake everyone's making when it comes to drops? It's the idea that as you reach the edge of the lip, that you should be unweighting the bike. Now, I hate it when I see these certified coaches telling people to unweight the bike as the front wheel is leaving. It creates so many problems. Let's break them all down. So what are these three unsafe issues that arise when unweighting straight up? The first one is you're creating a full bike length distance that you have to travel with the bike unweighted before your rear tire actually crosses the edge of the drop. So you're making any distance that you have to clear a full bike length longer. I'm completely unweighted from the bike here. So this rear tire is actually going to leave the ground right there, right there. It's off of the drop because I've taken my weight straight up. Now, if you do this, you could accidentally catch the edge of the drop, and this is going to cause you to go way over the bars. OTB, awful. So our first unsafe result is creating more distance to have to clear to make it to the landing, and possibly catching our rear wheel on the very edge of the drop as we start to fall down towards the ground, which then could cause us to go OTB and definitely get hurt. The second unsafe result of this unweighting of the bike is the loss of control of the bike as soon as you've unweighted from the bike completely. You've got no control of the bike, and this is where dead sailors happen. When you just stand up, almost disconnect from the bike, and your upward motion is halted when your arms reach max length and your upward travel stops. As well, if there was a whole bunch of chunder here, as you're unweighted from the bike and you roll forward, you have nothing pushing the rear wheel through this chunder. So this could cause you to get thrown forward and go OTB once again. So reason 2, so our second unsafe result is loss of control of the bike as it travels forward on the drop after you've completely unweighted your bike as the front tire has left. Our third and final result actually stems from losing control off of the drop. And that's a loss of control in the air, leading to a really awful, impactful, unsafe landing. As you lose control off of the edge of the drop by completely shifting your body straight up, you lose all ability to angle your front wheel down towards the landing to absorb the initial impact. Most of the time, this will lead to a rear tire first impact, which then slaps the upper body super hard forward over the handlebars. Whack! And with more speed, you can miss the landing completely, which can be even worse. So what's the form we should be looking to as we approach drops? Now to start out, I want to say the slower you can take drops, the more bike control you have. Anyone can just race up to a drop and ride off. It's physics. But when you're out on a mountain bike trail, you don't have these smooth run-ups all the time. Sometimes you have a chunky run-up and you just can't use speed. So some drops on the trail are quite slow. So once you master the form, then you can start to add some speed and use less effort. This form is all based around the push or the scoot, where you create forward momentum with the bike while also creating a counterweight for the front tire. Something I want you guys to notice. Look at my head. Notice as I go through this motion, my head stays on one plane. My body isn't going up at all. It's just going forward and then back. Yes, this does look like the beginning of a manual, but the goal isn't to create a whole lot of front wheel lift. It's just meant to unweight that front wheel slightly while creating a counterweight so this front wheel can kind of just plane straight out above the ground. It also allows me to keep my weight on the bike as I do this movement. Notice how my weight just shifts into the rear third of the bike. If there was a whole bunch of chunder here, it wouldn't be throwing me forward. I could just push harder with my feet to keep the rear wheel on the ground. As well, I'm doing this up a hill to show you how it creates speed or creates forward motion. So how do we use this push or scoot to execute drops? As you approach the drop, you're gonna slightly preload your body weight kind of forward, actually giving you a look at the landing of the drop. You don't wanna preload down into the bike because then you're gonna have to go up in order to go back. You're just trying to preload a little forward. Bring your weight forward, but don't lower your hips. Now, as you reach basically maybe 6 to 8 inches before the edge of the drop, you start to execute the scoot. And that scoot helps push this front wheel straight out over the drop, put your weight over the rear third of the bike, still on the bike so it could push through any little bits of chunder on the trail, and your upper body becomes a counterweight to make sure this front wheel doesn't dive. Now, as the rider's rear wheel starts to reach the edge of the drop, you can see the rider pull themselves back over the top tube of the bike, back into the center of the cockpit. They'll land front tire first and then set the rest of their body weight into the rear wheel, landing in control and smoothly. In full speed, but at a slow pace. Push. Once again, push. If you add some speed to it, we still use the push, but it's less noticeable. One more time in full speed.
Let's check it out in a little slow-mo. Push. Weight back to create that counterweight. Bringing my body back over the center of the bike. Front tire impacts, rear tire impacts. Landing nice and smooth. Rolling away, ready for the next feature. And yes, just like jumps, you can scrub when you have too much speed. But that's an advanced skill we're not going to cover today. Take note that in all three of these clips, my body does not go up, just goes forward, then back. First clip, forward, back. Notice that if I put a line right here, watch, my head doesn't cross it. Let's go to the next one. Leave that line right there. It just goes down. Notice my head isn't going up. My body weight isn't going up. It's going forward and then back. Finally, our scrub. Notice, doesn't go up. I do lean the bike over to scrub off this, scrub a little speed, keep the bike low. But again, look, the push, there it is. Oh my goodness. Basically, scrubbing a drop is the push with leaning the bike over.
This is our first example. And this is what I mean by having a drop that has a bunch of chatter at the end of it, and unweighting the bike completely could cause the rear wheel to get hung up and you're gonna get flung over the bars.
Let's have a look full speed. Push, one more time, push. As I enter the frame, you can see me looking for my landing. As I reach the edge, I start my push, creating a counterweight so this front wheel can continue to plane. As my rear wheel leaves, I bring myself forward, back into the cockpit of the bike, land both tires at the same time, absorb the landing, and I'm ready for the next feature. If I were to unweight, oh, again, full speed. As I approach the edge of the drop, watch me unweight upwards. I'm completely unweighted from the bike right now. Look at the disconnect from the bike. As we roll forward, I'm not in control of the bike. And I'm getting flung forward here. Watch how hard this landing is. I have to hold my body super hard, almost go over the bars. Look at how much I have to compress. You can hear the terror. Ah! The next drop we'll be looking at in the wild is this ladder drop. It's really actually small. It only stands about 5 feet off the ground. And guys, that's like 4 feet from there to there. With the appropriate speed, you should be able to just come in, use the appropriate form, and essentially just ride right off. Even though this gap is only about 3 to 4 feet, I wouldn't want to pick the whole bike up as the front wheel leaves and make the gap a whole bike length longer. There's no point to that. We want that front tire to gently guide and then slope down to the landing. I don't need it to go up, I just need it to go out and then start to arc down. All right, drop number 2, full speed, here we go. And once again. Now let's check this out in a little slow-mo action. Again, this drop is effortless with the right speed, but I'm still using that push. As I reach the edge, you can see me shift my hips back into the rear third, but not with a whole lot of force because I came in with an appropriate amount of speed. Extend out. Now I'm eyeing that landing up. I'm gonna set that front tire down first. Then the rear tire is gonna set down. All of my body weight going down into the bottom bracket and is distributed across both front fork and rear shock. I absorb the landing nice and smooth, and I'm already ready for the next feature. Look, eyes up, ready to go. I was not about to put myself in danger for you guys, unfortunately, and show you what would happen if I unweighted straight up. But if I did, I would probably land on the rear tire and my head would get slapped forward, just like it does here. Bringing us to our third and final drop out in the wild. And this guy's fairly big.
Luckily, this drop is a really smooth run up, but it's really big, and you have quite the distance to travel to get from point A to point B.
Now, we want to make a nice mellow arc from the drop down to the landing. With this drop being so big, I definitely could not show you guys the bad form of unweighting straight up and then showing the effects of that. But just from this line on the screen, can you guys imagine what would happen if I came into this drop, unweighted straight up, started to travel out, and then have my rear wheel get caught up on the very edge? Can you imagine how bad that would be? A severe injury. Just don't do it. So here we have the drop at full speed. And once again, yes, you're hearing some tire buzz. I did not check my air pressure in my rear shock before going riding today. Seems I was a few PSI low. Now let's check this out in slow-mo. I approach the edge. I'm getting my preload and my look to the landing because this is a very blind drop. You really don't see the landing until you're reaching the very edge here. As I reach the very edge of the drop, I'll initiate the push, look at my hips, slide into that rear third. I'm creating a counterweight so this front wheel can continue to plane out. And as I fall, I'm gonna bring myself back into the center of the bike and absorb the landing. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this episode. Please stop unweighting straight up on drops. You're not gonna progress how you like. If you enjoyed this content, please make sure to leave a comment and always make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Remember that our paid patrons make this content possible. YouTube doesn't pay well for creators like myself. If this episode really helped you and you'd like to leave me a little attaboy thank you, you can use my PayPal or Venmo links in the video description. Until the next time, guys, keep the rubber side down, be kind to each other on the trail. We'll see you next time.